Right when you log in your computer, you're going to notice over here there is a program called Robot C for VEX Robotics, and you can also log in. You can also search for it right here by typing in Robot C. And once you open up your Robot C for VEX Robotics, any of these will work. I think they all route to the same thing. You can open up the software that you need. So if you go ahead and open any one of these up, it routes you to the software, and this is where it's gonna ask you to download the new update. For whatever reason, we can't download these updates. Inform the instructor, and I can put it in a requisition to have it updated. But there's updates all the time. You can see this most recent one is August 27th, which isn't that recent, but there's updates like every quarter or so like 4 or 5 times a year. And if you hit download, it's just going to give you an error anyway. But it's irregardless. What we need to do first, after you cancel out of that, is hit open. You're going to go open. You're going to come down here over to your computer, and under your X drive, I have a code written for you. Under POE, X drive, POE curriculum, Unit 1, Dragster. It's a simplified code. If you have to open it this way. It's going to say there's going to be some errors from generation. What you need to do first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to come up here under robot, and there's a couple things you're going to need to change. The first thing you're going to need to do is platform type. You got to make sure that it's set to Cortex 2. If that isn't an option, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to come down here, VEX Robotics, and choose this Cortex 2. Then come back up here to robot, platform type, select this as Cortex 2. You need to come over here under platform type and choose natural language, PLTW. The next thing you're going to need to do is come up here under robot and go to Cortex communication. VEXNet sometimes works, but it usually doesn't. You need to be set to USB only. So VEX communication mode, USB only. That's what I prefer. Again, 3 things you need to check. Platform type, Cortex 2.0. 2.0 here, and natural language, PLTW. Do is you are now ready to plug in your Cortex to upload the code. Come on over here, plug in your Cortex. The first thing you're going to need to do is update your firmware. So plug in your Cortex. Make sure the Cortex is off completely. No lights blinking and the Cortex is off. Come over here, plug in your Cortex, and the light should light up. There should be a red light here. Now after you plug it in, you need to turn it on. And if there's power, it's going to turn on like that. And the first thing you're going to do after you turn it on, you have power. We're going to come back up to the computer. It's plugged in. It's turned on. And I'm going to come back up here to the computer, and we are going to firmware download. We're going to update the firmware, and the firmware button in the VEX. See, just read the message, and clicking OK will proceed to update your Robot C program. There's no communication right now, so there's a good chance that either my battery is almost dead, or for whatever reason is not identifying that the Robot VEX is hooked up. So turn it off. This may happen to you. And switch USBs. It's not uncommon that there's actually a little bit of dust in these USBs, and it prevents communication. It's a really common error. We're going to come back up here to firmware. Yeah, so it does take a little bit of time for the computer to recognize it. Even in the manual, it says sometimes it could take up to 2 minutes to update, but right now it's working. There's times where it'll actually download, and it'll say error in the download. Not uncommon. It just takes a little bit for the computer to get acclimated to the Robot C. So give it a minute and try the download again. Hit OK. Now we have the firmware downloaded to the robot. Now we can download the code to the robot and get this or this is called a robot, but you can download the code to the robot right over here, and it's actually the Cortex. If we look up here, you can see right up here where I have everything hooked up, digital bump switch, and it's a digital sensor. Motor port 2 and motor port 6 for the right motor and the left motor, all put up here in our header. The reason why we're doing 2 and 6 is because the circuit breaker is set up in series and parallel. We have 2 different circuit breakers applying equal power to ports 2 through 5, 6 through 8, I believe, are all going to be 6 through 10 are all on a different circuit breaker. So if we use those different circuits, we can apply equal power at port 2 and port 6. That's why we have it spaced out. When you have everything done, you're going to come back over here and you need to first turn the Cortex off. So you always have it off whenever you're plugging in and taking it off. Now there's a red light there. Wait about 10 seconds and then unplug your power supply. If you do not do this, the code will not save on your Cortex. You unplug your power supply and you turn it back on. I'm going to give it a few seconds to turn back on. And now if I push my button, the motor should turn on. Just a quick review. Make sure you download your do a firmware download. If it doesn't work, give it a minute. The next thing, under robot, make sure your platform and type is Cortex 2.0, 2.0, and natural PLTW. Save your, when you're done with your work, you can always compile and you should not have any errors. Also, another error that a lot of people experience is VEX communication mode, USB only. Enjoy. Good luck with the project.